The history of art. The Eastern influence on Grand Prince Vladimir. Vladimir, becoming a Christian in 988, returned to Kiev and ordered the conversion to Christianity of all his people. Having received his religion from Byzantium, naturally took their religious architecture and art back with him. This was done returning with Greek craftsmen and artists. These artists already had training which was based upon a particular style. By the time they reached Kiev and set up shop, the art style had by then become highly stylized and formal in execution. There were dictated rules of work and particular forms encompassing representational symbols. The style used dynamic geometrical patterns and lacework in an expressive manner. The depicted human form, representational in style and clothed in drapery, assuming elegant folds. In the middle of the late 12th century, the construction of churches was at a feverish pitch, catering for the mass of converts. The producers of panel paintings had to be organized to provide many panels, not just the obvious portraits of Christ, Mary, and Nicholas, but many other saints who represented many aspects of human and natural life. A form and style soon developed that would depict all the spiritual needs for the icon to represent, and at the same time could be produced relatively quickly and cheaply. The most plentiful material was wood, which, however prepared, was uneven, having a surface unfit to paint. Putting a plaster or substance that the builders were using to dealing with, coating on the surface, would give the required levelness and receptiveness. If this was painted onto a substance like rabbit-skin glue that in itself would adhere to the wood's surface, this would make the plaster the obvious choice of surface. By also including the glue into the plaster gesso, the chalk's particles would bind together, giving it an even greater utility. This was the perfect surface, easy to produce, cheap to manufacture, and provide a flexible, hard surface. The natural pigments suspended in water, providing a range of colours that would not, when dry, cling to the gesso surface. When dry, would crack and fall off, without an additional binder. Eggs have been used throughout the ages to act as a binder for various mortars, plasters, and paints. Here was the perfect binder. Egg yolk gave the natural sticky addition to the water-based paints that did not drastically affect the colour, mixing, or application. A final coat of boiled linseed oil and lavender gave the necessary varnish to protect the picture. The national style of the 1450s continued the evolution from early Byzantine to the Novgorod school. The egg tempera with a little chalk or gesso worked very much like acrylic paint. How much easier it was for the painter to follow an outline ponced or traced onto the panel without covering the guidelines or pinned holes. How convenient not to worry about detail when the addition of white highlights at the end of painting would produce these, and giving a broad outline with black at the end would sharpen up the picture and cover up any mistakes. As an artist, this allows a concentration on all other factors without being too fussy about bothering with fine detail. This abstract, mannered style was highly suitable for what was being asked of the painter. The result had to draw the congregation's notice, to be almost hypnotic, having the style, content, colours dictated and saved, not having to think about side issues. It was a mindset of the peasant population, giving meaning to the splendour around him that mattered. Here was salvation and comfort from a cruel world, one that gave hope. The painting style, the use of ciphers, of line, form, and colour, of unvarying tone. Later art schools used bright saturated colours on dark or gold backgrounds. The whole picture outlined and framed in black, nimby, white, Ozkivsky, and gold, a great deal of maroon and orange-red on articles of clothing and furniture. The painters, atelier, were fully aware that their pictures were not representational, for they had the skill and education to differentiate the difference. They chose this special form to stylize their work, to achieve a particular emotion in their public. Pedestal plinths and rock steps were schematic, with their rises and treads tipping forward. When Vladimir introduced Christianity into the Ukraine, and Russian fresco wall painting decorated the stone churches, these paintings were executed in the Greco-Roman style, similar to those in their temples and villas showing today, faces showing side view only, and the eyes heavily outlined using flat paint without shade. The floors were laid with tile and mosaics, small cubes of marble, pegs of terracotta, coloured stone, broken china, and pebbles. These floors were highly decorative and pictorial, using the smallest of inlaid stonework. Both these art forms, frescoes and mosaics, can still be seen in Egypt and Italy, but the finest was the Byzantine period.